Hello? Hi. Hello. So this is just gonna be a record of what I did, how I did it, why I did it, and if any of you are interested in making an animatic of your own, of starting a project of your own, this should be hopefully a little helpful for you. So this is why I'm just putting it out there. So let's get started. The programs I used were Autodesk Sketchbook, which is free. I have a Wacom Intuos tablet, which is not free, and Adobe Premiere Pro, which is also not free. We're going to start this off by saying I am not really a digital artist. I'm more of a traditional artist. This is me figuring things out. I have a bit of a learning curve that I'm going through. My art style is changing. I'd like to say improving, but because of my inexperience with everything that I'm doing, I made a lot of choices that I didn't agree with then, and I still don't agree with now. So I'm not the happiest with how this came out, but it's taught me a lot. So when I made this animatic, I essentially broke it down into 3 major steps. The first step is audio editing. That's grabbing all of the voice clips from all the different streams, editing them together with my music of choice, making sure that it has like a coherent storyline or something. The second step is just drafting frames, putting them in, getting the transitions down so I can understand what it'll look like. And then the third and final step, which takes the longest, is lines and color and just making it as pretty as I can, basically. So this is where I made my biggest mistake. One of the big things with an animatic like this, especially when there's a lot of frames moving relatively quickly, is you really want it to be very clean so it's easy for the viewer to understand what they're looking at. And I feel like I was working against myself because some of the shading covered up the line art, made it look fuzzier, indistinct. It was harder to grab a visual focus. And in those instances, I almost liked the drafted frames better, where the drafted frames actually had a drawing and not just a rough sketch, because you could see what was happening. Whereas in the final draft, it was a little bit muddier. So what I want to do is I just want to walk you through the animatic as I see it, as I drafted it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have the sketched version, the final version, and we're just going to pop a timeline right over here because I tried to develop the animatic in sections. So you've got the general first opening bit, and then you've got the actual exile, a moment of recovery, everyone's taking a break, and then it just sort of spurs us forward onto a rebellion.
Democracy is overrated.
2 nights ago on the night of the election, Quackity made a deal. Hog 2020 got 45% of the popular vote, meaning that the coalition government of Schlatt and Swag 2020 got 46%.
Well?
All right, I'm going to stop us right here real fast. You can already tell that some of my frames have been drawn in advance. This was me just getting excited and going for it. But I stopped us here because I just really don't like this frame, because this is the first time we see his face. This is the first time we see him on screen. And something about the expression, I can't take it seriously. It doesn't have the same gravitas that I wanted it to.
That was pretty easy. And you know what I said? The day I got unbanned from the Dream SMP, and the day I said I was running, I said things are going to change. I looked every citizen of L'Manberg in the eyes and I said, you listen to me, this place will be a lot different tomorrow. My first decree as the president of L'Manberg, the emperor of this great country, is to revoke the citizenship of Wilbur Soot and Tommy Innit. No longer welcome.
So now we're solidly in the exile, sequence of the animatic, and this is like one of my favorite sequences, both the build-up and the actual exile. And one of the stylistic choices that I think came across really, really well was this gradient to red, the moment of realization, and everything just bleeds red. I cannot take credit from this. I 100% borrowed it from Jalen Zachary's World Burn animatic, and let me just play you these 2 seconds.
My name is Regina George, and in case you're keeping score.
The first time I saw this, I got chills, okay? I saw that and I was like, yes, I want this. And so I went ahead and I added that small little detail, and it really just completely brought the whole thing together.
Get him out of here!
Shit, Tommy runs!
Yes, sir!
Just a quick little side note, these past like 3 or 4 frames, a quick trick I did was I took the silhouette of Wilbur being shot and I just turned it into a silhouette and reused it over and over and over from frame to frame. It makes your life so much easier, and if you can find little backdoors like that, little tricks to make your drawing process go quicker, then absolutely go for it.
We are entering into a new period of a period of prosperity, of strength, of unity. Get up here on my podium. How about get up here now?
Wilbur, we've got to go.
This frame has got to be like one of my favorites, but I still don't love it. I really like the way the lines and the colors turned out, but my only thing that I don't like about this is that the background is sort of coming forward into the foreground. It's hard to tell that there's distance between Tommy and Wilbur and the trees in the background, and so it all gets a little bit muddled. So going back, I'd either blur it or put like a little bit of a transparent layer on top of it to really help differentiate what's in front and what's in back.
No.
Not me.
Oh, Tomo, no!
My son is tearing down the walls in front of me!
Fundy, you bastard!
Oh, it was so easy. Until further notice, Wilbur Soot and Tommy Innit are merely a memory of the Manberg, a relic of the past, a reminder of the darkest era this country has ever seen. And I guarantee you all, dear citizens, tonight, that changes. Find Tommy, and I need you to show him the door.
Did someone say rebellion?
Technoblade!
Okay, so a couple things here. The first thing I want to talk about is this short sequence of Wilbur and the bird flying down. No one questioned this, no one pointed it out, but this is supposed to be the literal interpretation of Twitter. You know, Technoblade tweeted out, and then they brought him onto the server, so that's what that's supposed to be. Secondly, if you look back at the original frames, I had a different design sort of for Technoblade, and then Sadists, Techno versus Dream animation came out, and I was like, no, I hate everything about this Technoblade, we're gonna try this again. So this is the only character I really did a design sheet for, just a quick messy sketch, and ended up changing his design. And thirdly, I really wanted a moment where everyone sort of recognized that they were bringing techno onto the server, and I struggled over this for a little bit because I was going for more of a realistic fantasy vibe, I suppose. And at first I was like, oh, they're summoning them. I'll do like a massive beam of light. But I was talking to my sister, and it was between that and the text, and she said, go with the text because it's different than everything else that you've been doing previously. And I'm very glad that she told me to do that, because I prefer this much better now because it has a much bigger impact, in my opinion.
Technoblade!
The sun rises over another beautiful day in our country. The sun rises on another chapter The next page of the textbook that children will be reading.
So I'm going to pause it again real fast. If you look closely, the books are different. Originally, it was going to be A Diary of a Spy by Fundi, and then I changed it to Tyrant by Dream, simply because Fundi's motivation is hard to pin down, I think, in the SMP series. He said he was being a spy, but then he seemed to abandon that, and now he's having this huge crisis of faith, most currently. So I ended up changing it to Tyrant because I wanted to focus on the feeling of us against the world instead of possible alliances.
Till the end of time.
Do you think war is coming? We have a life here!
Tommy, we don't have a choice.
Someone's gotta be the bad guy for the content. Will it have to be me? Look, if I spend all this time making a sharpness 5 axe and I never get to use it, I'm gonna find a chance to use it. That's all I'm saying.
So a final few notes. I had this thing pretty much completely drafted before the November 8th stream, and I did want to focus on Technoblade's possible betrayal, and then Wilbur had to come out of nowhere with his villain arc, which was incredible, but I really debated whether or not to put Techno's last little end scene in there. I decided to because his character might have gone with it anyway, which it sort of did. Mistakes that I made that I probably could have avoided. So I didn't create any character reference sheets at all. I drew them once, decided if I liked it or hated it, and moved it from there, which is why characters like Nikki or Tubbo, they kind of change their shape, their hairstyle, their face shape a little bit between frames, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I also learned that you can take transparent sprites and move them around and essentially animate them through Premiere, which I want to experiment with, give it the illusion of movement, some simple, not quite animation stuff, but like some movement, which is very exciting. And of course, the big question, are you making another one? Yes. This is going to take much, much longer than the last one, simply because it's going to be a much more ambitious project, and I am in school, so I can't dedicate like 5 hours per day to just pound this thing out. But I can show you a little bit of a sneak peek of the drafts I've been doing, so enjoy.
Tommy, are we the bad guys? Tommy, am I a villain in this story? Am I the villain in your history? Because I mean, we just kind of made ourselves the leaders, and now we had a vote, and now we're trying to overthrow him. This it feels like we're the bad guys, Tommy.
No.
Why not? Why not? Look, it's our nation's gone. Our nation's far behind us, Tommy. Let's blow the whole thing up.